This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Franny's Pharmacy.
Now more than ever, it's important that our society focuses more on our mental and physical health. At Franny's Pharmacy, the team is committed to their community's need of being happy, healthy, and stress-free. Come learn how Franny's Pharmacy can assist you in a clean, professional environment with their expert bud tenders that are excited to educate you about the benefits of their lab-tested, DEA-certified CBD products. Franny's Pharmacy also offers wholesale and franchise opportunities. Visit their website at frannysPharmacy.com, and that's pharmacy with an F, and use the promo code CannaConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Again, that's Franny's Pharmacy with an F.com and use the promo code CannaConnect10 for an exclusive Cannabinoid Connect discount. Franny's Pharmacy, putting the farm back into pharmacy.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Canna Health.
Hey cannabis consumers, have you ever consumed a cannabis product thinking it'll make you feel a certain way, but then it doesn't? Don't you wish you had a clear understanding of your own DNA so that you could make informed decisions about what type of cannabis products interact best with your system? Well, now you can with EndoDNA. EndoDNA is a simple DNA test that maps your entire endocannabinoid system and then matches that summary with a specific cannabinoid ratio and terpene profile that best aligns with your unique genotype. Imagine being armed with personal information when visiting a dispensary. You'll have the knowledge and power and capability to purchase products that best align with your genotype. Visit their website to purchase the EndoDNA Collection Kit and Endo Decoded Report at endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. Again, that's endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. The future of cannabinoid therapeutics is here with EndoDNA. Jacqui Childs, what is going on, girl?
Hey, nice to meet you, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Nice to meet you as well. Thank you for agreeing to come on. As you can see, before we recorded, I'm stretching. I'm getting the neck, getting everything loose, because I think it's going to be a very lively conversation we're going to have today.
I'm looking forward to it. I love chopping it up.
Well, I mean, you're a fellow podcaster yourself, and we'll definitely get into that with your podcast, The Green Room. But Jacqui, I guess, like always, traditionally it's good to allow the audience to get to know you and your background. From what I've read, you've done a lot. You were on Naked News, which started in 1998. I think you were the first anchor for Naked News. You've been an international glamour model, which I think you still are, an author, writer, podcast host, as I mentioned, and now a content producer in the cannabis industry, being the chief content officer for Cannabis Wiki. So yes. Talk about your journey. Tell us everything, man. Tell us, paint a picture for us here.
So my life is never boring. It's been an interesting one. And so I did sort of get my start in social media and the online world through nakednews.com. And I wasn't their first anchor. There were several before me, but I was their, they did like a research online thing. What was the show missing? And at the time they had over 5 million viewers online, nakednews.com. And they had globally 5 million viewers. And they said they needed a more mature as an age anchor. And that's where I auditioned and I got the job, and it was really fun. And it was yes, it's news, weather, sports and everything. And the host is nude, but it positioned me for where I took it afterwards. Learning how to write, produce, edit, create viral content, sex sells, how to use what you have, which is also a negative and a positive in the cannabis space, because they say she's using her looks or she uses whatever to get in, I'd be silly not to. Jacqui Childs is a branded business, incorporated branded business on its own. So yeah, it'd
Well,
be crazy not to use, right? If you're a mathematician,
yeah.
if you're a mensa, whatever, you
Well,
use
I mean,
your tools.
I'm a brand marketer, and it would be a disservice to yourself if you've already built up a brand, right? And an
Right.
audience, an engaged audience at that. Like, it's only natural for professionals, especially within the content space, to pivot and to transition into other spaces. And so
Right.
you've built up an audience. You did your thing when it came to Naked News, kind of building and generating awareness around your brand there. International glamour model, I guess would be the obvious next step to kind of continue that momentum.
So
Or
that was actually before.
oh,
I've been
okay,
modeling since I was like 4 years old,
got you.
like in that
Okay,
space. So, and that's how I got to Naked News. And then the Naked News, I mean, I aged out as people do.
as human beings do. Yes, correct.
Exactly. They age out. And so I did stay on as there's social media with social media and content. So I still continue to travel with them, clothes on, and was behind the scenes doing their content creation and their social media outreach on the different like in Alaska and in
Wow,
Mexico, and just traveling the world with them.
that's pretty cool.
And then we realized the brand didn't have the demographic, the women following as much as we need to, because women tend to make up, they're the buying power in the families. They make those decisions. They decide where they're going to spend the money. So we're like, how do we catch the audience you've engaged? How do we add women to that? How do we get the spenders? Because I believe I had like a 97% male demographic for most of my online career. I've been using social media and building this brand for 11 years.
Lots of dick pics, I bet.
Yeah. Oh boy. So I have on the back burner, These Are the Dicks I Know. It was a great book. I mean, if you're ever looking for husband, boyfriend, brother, husband, dick, I'm sure I have it here in this book.
Unfortunately, isn't that
the way to,
yeah,
you know,
that's yeah, it's not a good pickup line these days, guys. Don't lead with dick pics.
good pickup line. No,
Nah.
it's not. And actually, I would receive said dick pic and it would say, I hope to see you at such and such a club later tonight, or let me know wherever in Toronto. Oh yes, because I will definitely recognize that dick pic. Like, it made no sense. It just makes no sense. And sending dick pics like when you've got pee-pee in the toilet and you're barefoot and the room is dirty. Like, I don't want that. Nobody wants that. Like,
clean your bathroom, Jesus. If you're at least show some effort, right? Come on,
some effort,
clean the
maybe.
mirror.
If they want to make the book, they should have put a little effort into it. So stepping away from Naked News, I wrote the book, co-wrote a book with 14 other authors. They were all very successful in their own, whether they were lawyers, doctors, whatever they were, but they had troublesome youth and really hard go at the initial part of their lives, the initial stages. So it was women who shared their stories of like how survival, victim stories, and then how they've thrived and how they've turned it into, they've turned their stories and their narratives into a positive, whether it be starting charities or, just sharing their story with mental health issues, etc. So that was called Ignite Your Inner Warrior. I was part of that. That became an international bestseller, and
Wow.
then helped capturing more of the female audience. Then from that, we just was like, okay, just let's use social media for what it's built for. Let's go on Instagram. Let's go on Facebook. The Facebook got verified at around 7,500 followers. It hit 1 million that same year. Now we're up over 2 million. Facebook did shut me down for an entire year because of too much TNA and also too much monetization, but not through them. So
of course,
clicks and that
because you're taking traffic off of their platform and directing to websites where you may have affiliate partnerships or you're selling your own products or whatever. Yeah. You know what? And I want to talk to you about this. Is actually a good kind of, I guess, transition to this part of the conversation. And that is the bullshit that we're seeing with social media censorship right now. I mean, I want to say, like, from your perspective, I'd imagine you've been doing it with it for quite some time outside of even cannabis, right? With
outside of
I mean,
even
nudity or provocative
yeah,
imagery where
any
yeah.
sort of risque content. Risque, like if you have an idea or a thought that is not within line, if your photograph is a little, like if you can sort of see a nipple through something, if the cleavage is too low or whatever it is, like even if it's just a nice picture, like you're fully clothed, but you say something that might be too controversial or whatever. Like I have been dealing with this forever and not dealing this with, I know it's hurtful and I know it's upsetting when people build and they've got 1,300 followers and they put 1,300 pictures or 1,200 pictures, but I was losing it as a business. This was a very successful business to be shut down without warning and then like have it gone. So we appealed and we hired people to help appeal and to really go after this. And then now in the cannabis space, I'm very vocal about censorship and filtering. And even if I don't agree with you, I don't feel like you should be censored, and I don't feel like I don't have, and I also won't engage negatively with people. I just won't. We're all entitled to our own thoughts and opinions. Our thoughts and our opinions aren't wrong. And Twitter has created, like these spaces have created this such negative, these negative engagements, and negative content happens to go viral way faster and more than kindness or kind content, something educational and engaging content that can be fun, never hits it like when you're being mean, when you're being nasty, when you're saying horrible things. And trolls love me, and they loved me way back Naked News, then they followed me over to the book to talk about how crazy I am. And then
and these are the same people, these are the same individuals that just
most of them, I picked up way more in the cannabis space because, if you're not an OG, what good are you? If you haven't been growing weed ridiculous. Since, whatever, then which I also I grow. I'm a medical patient. I'm very well versed in what I've taken every course and class there is to take. I have visited from the tiny little garden to the grow ops to the big licensed producer facilities. I've traveled the world looking I'm done 2022. I'm done proving who I am, and I'm done earning my space totally. So
well, it's not like somebody's gonna be like, okay, Jacqui, now you have attained respect today as of 12 p.m.
So maybe you, Kevin.
I mean, are there people that are like, you have earned the respect? Like, there's a lot of areas to play in this sandbox that we call the legal cannabis industry, right?
Definitely. There's definitely room for a lot for all of us. The pie is big enough for everyone. There are so many different avenues and aspects and parts of cannabis. And never have I ever claimed to be an expert in anything. And I believe you could go back to my early interviews right into 2010, 2011, 2012, when I very, very first touched the social media and influencing scene. I have never said I'm an expert. I am a sponge to all of you, and I will engage and big up what you're doing and your brands and your businesses. And I've always done
but
that.
I'm sure you've learned a lot. Being a patient, hosted a podcast, like how long have you been in the space? Like a total, how many years?
5.
So 5 years is like 10 years.
So for Canada, so we legalized 4 years ago. So I've been before legalization, I was just getting into the cannabis space, and just that I sort of just fell into it. And because my platform was already built and it was so engaging and so big, and I was like, I have a personal story with cannabis, I started sharing it and my passion and love for it. And that's how I became a cannabis influencer. And I started winning cannabis influencer awards and being invited to events all over the world to speak about my personal journey, not through as an expert or not, I wasn't tied to one brand. I wasn't toting one. Yeah, I got some free hats and some free stickers, which everyone hates when you get free stuff. But then I send it all back out all the time. I'm like, you can have it, you can have it. I'm very humble, but I also I'm aware of what I'm not good at, but I'm very self-aware of my crazy and what I excel at.
That's good. That's really good, because you're able to manage expectations and outcomes at that point.
So yes, much better in the last few months that I am learning to ask for help and learning to rely on my team at Cannabis Wiki. Like they're experts in their individual spots as well. And I just always felt like Jacqui Childs, I just was like a lone wolf. I had to do it all myself. I'm going to write. I'm going to get my husband's the photographer. We're going to do everything. But having to like rely on a team and know what I'm not good at and reach out for help in the community as well has really been a rough spot for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm very bad at asking for help.
No, I get that. I mean, yeah, if you're more like an individual, like individuality, or like you're used to participating in individual sports, like you have that individual mentality where you can cut you're self-assertive. You can do it yourself, right? That makes sense. I want to ask you, I want to go back to the trolls real quick, and then I want to talk about your relationship with cannabis and that kind of like how you used it and how it's improved your life. But to go back to the trolls. So first question is, which trolls are like worse? Is it the ones that have followed you over the years from your previous kind of career within Naked News and modeling, or cannabis trolls? How do they differ? Who's worse? Who's better? Whatever. I mean, who's worse? I guess the question.
The cannabis trolls are way worse.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
why?
because they all are so opinionated and so smart, know everything, and they're experts in all of everything. And I'm a culture vulture, and I'm an influencer, and she's just using her tits and all that crap. They're relentless. They're annoying. They're time wasting because they're growing some great weed. They're doing great. Like I could be sharing all their stuff and I'm very like, when I see trolls, then I like see what they're doing. I'm like, that was so awesome. I would love to have been involved with that. Like I have no hate. It's like, and engagement is engagement. So right. When you post something about me and then all this nasty stuff's underneath, they're
only bubbling you to the top of the feed. I mean, right? Yeah.
Exactly. Like if you really can't stand me, then I'm invisible. Stop mentioning me. Stop, because you're just, and the game of social media, which the trolls I don't think understand, is in content engagement is the way to go. Like right. So whether it's negative or positive, like I just said, especially when it's negative, it goes viral. It makes you bigger. So the trolls have actually made me even bigger in the space.
It brings you into the category of relevancy, right? Because it's one thing to just kind of post and get likes here and there, but to have people actually respond and comment, whether it be negative or positive, to your point, it's only good because, again, it bubbles that conversation back up. It basically increases the shelf life of that particular post.
Definitely. That's what we find on Facebook when people are like the negative and the troll stuff. These things that I look at the data, I'm like, this keeps coming back to the top. Like, you wonder why I have almost 3 million followers is because you guys just are relentless. You just can't stop. Like, you just keep putting me through the feed every time, you engage negatively.
And then, so here's, that's the next question I want to ask. So with these trolls, like, they're relentless, right? So in my opinion, I think that it's people like, first off, we know that there's a mental health crisis out there. And we know that mental health concerns can stem from, an enormous amount of stress, mixed with a lack of a proper diet and regular exercise. I mean, those are some of the things. Of course, there's genetics and you can be predisposed in other cases, but and so my view is that there's just people that are on bad diets, eating a lot of sugar, maybe not exercising, and just constantly on their phone trying to get their rage out in some way instead of going for a run or like lifting weights or reading a book. I don't know, going for a walk, whatever, right? To release your mind. I mean, I don't know.
So they release it on me.
So they released it on you and others. Yeah. And so that's my next question. How do you deal with that, Jacqui? So like, have you found cannabis plant medicine to be something that has been relieving in that sense? And how has that changed your perspective, if so, from not using it before?
So I'm fairly new. Like, of course I tried to smoke weed in high school and whatever. I probably didn't inhale. I did some hot knives and I'd bottle tote with some hash on the bottom of a beer bottle, whatever. And like, but then I have Crohn's. I have anxiety and depression. I was highly medicated, using and abusing all the normal pharmaceuticals like Ativan, Wellbutrin, Cipralax, all those sort of things on the daily for years and years. My father-in-law introduced me to CBD oil. I thought it was snake oil. I held on to it and thought about it for a while. But then without telling anyone, I stopped cold turkey, which I don't suggest, all the meds, and started taking CBD oil and smoking weed and doing all, and just didn't ever look back. I was done. Then COVID hit and I am back on a very low dose, 2 of my meds out of the whole limit. So, but relying heavily again on CBD and THC, like smoking, and I take a lot of oils and to help sleep. But I was recently, so several years ago, I was diagnosed bipolar, and I was misdiagnosed at the time. Stopped all the meds, stopped the therapy, just went on like normal. During COVID, I had a pretty serious health crisis, like a severe mental shutdown. I can't even believe that it happened to me, that I just could not get out of bed. And like
Depression?
nothing was broken. Like nothing was broken. My feet weren't broken. My legs weren't broken. You know what I mean? I just physically could not get out of bed. And it was very, very scary. And it was just the depression was so bad. My bipolar had come to the surface. I guess it had lied dormant or had been medicated or whatever I was doing before COVID seemed to keep things at bay. I mean, I'm always very passionate. I call myself crazy nonstop. I say my madness is my magic. I don't have a lot of impulse control. I say things, I do things. I mean, all within kindness. I have a very kind heart, but I have a nasty overreaction like that. And then I feel guilty and terrible and apologize a minute later.
Right.
But I have this killer instinct that,
very reactive. Yeah.
And very reactive. And that's the bipolar. But during this, it was just a few months ago, like I was hearing voices really loud and really not good. Like they were saying horrific things. And like a lot of stuff going on in my life and in my head, not even going on in my life, because that's the thing about this. Like my family is amazing, professionally, bang on, A game all day. I'm super happy where I am in life. I'm super happy with all the people I work with, and kids are great. So there was no reason for this crash other than it was the undiagnosed or unmedicated, untreated bipolar. It was
wow,
and it's scary. It was really, really, really scary.
Did you have anybody there to like
put it into words? And you're the first interview I've talked publicly about it.
Wow. So well, first off, I and of course the audience appreciates you opening up like this for sure. And I mean, during that time, that deep, dark, depressive state during the pandemic, did you have anybody that was there to like console you or be at your side, or was this?
Well, so my husband is my manager, and best friend, and he is heavily involved in the cannabis space. So my Drury I call him my Drury. He was amazing, but scared. And then he was reaching out, and because it was COVID and things were closed and people were in a mental health crisis right now. Like it was, and then when people say, oh, the rich can get whatever, I'm very fortunate to have some money that I've worked very hard for. I've also, like, people don't know my whole story. I've been homeless. I've been a sex worker on and off throughout life. Like no family relations. I just like lived on my own since I was 15. So I don't appreciate I freaking deserve everything I've worked my balls off literally for. So again,
and people don't know what they don't know, right? I mean,
right. So whatever, I'm past proving that, like I'd said earlier. But so my husband was helping the best he could, being there, but he was terrified, and we couldn't get any professional help. We were on wait lists and calls, and like even like those apps that you can pay for, and then you get, but And I was calling crisis hotlines. My family doctor put me on hold twice and then was like, oh, we can try and get you in. So I think I called, like, say it was, I don't remember, but say it was like December 1st, I called. They could get me in February 9th. But by then, and honestly, I told the receptionist, I will be dead by then. Like,
Wow.
like what's happening in my head and my heart and everything right now is not good.
Was that due to COVID? Was that due to COVID because you had to wait so long?
Yes.
That's crazy.
So just the mental health crisis is so bad in the Canadian health system. We like shut down so many times, and we had we are a mess.
Yeah.
So even with access, with financial access, it's not available. So imagine the people that are homeless, and imagine people that don't have the means to get these, like they're screaming into an abyss. Like there's nobody for you.
Right.
So I'm lucky to have come out on the other side of this right now. But to tell you the truth, Kevin, I am terrified for this to happen again. And I feel like every day the last 3 months, I got to hit the ground running. I got to work as hard and fast as I can, because I feel like it's coming. Like, and I just,
why are you putting that pressure?
Why
are you putting that pressure on yourself though? Why does it need to come so fast and all of a sudden? Like, can it be gradual?
I work great under pressure.
Okay, so it's like a motivational thing. It's a driver.
I'm a pressure junkie. I like the stress, I think.
Okay.
I think I think it keeps the demons asleep. I got to stay motivated and focused and keep going. As long as there's a purpose, I'm good. It's during times like COVID when the world is shut down and you can't see people, and you can't. I'm also,
what a weird fucking time. Oh man, that was so weird.
My anxiety keeps me at home. Like I have social anxiety. So as much as I am so social, I'm very comfortable being home. And the more you put me at home, I'm probably just going to stay here. You know, like it was a bad thing to get comfortable at home.
I know what you're talking about. I'm kind of like that because, and tell me if you feel the same way, but it's like when you are socially interacting, you're giving your all and you're giving a lot of energy, and you want to be focused and you want to be attentive and you want to listen and you want to make that person feel engaged and heard. And then when you're done, when you get home, you're like exhausted, right? From kind of, I guess, being on, right? So when you say like there's times where if I have the option, it's like go out to dinner, you know, or stay at home and watch a movie and eat pizza. I'm like,
that's where you got me. I stay at home and eat pizza. Like, I don't know. Romantic to me is pizza and Netflix, man. Yeah.
And there's a delicate balance with that, right? Because like, especially with COVID, it's made us kind of be more of a recluse in some sense. I guess with our tendencies.
Definitely.
And so it's good to strike that balance, because you do not want to alienate yourself to where things become socially awkward either, right?
Right. I mean, which is like, that's really counterproductive for an influencer. Like, you're supposed to be engaging and out there and entertain, like do it, you know? So yeah, COVID was not good.
Crazy. Yeah.
And my podcast, I mean, the green room, we were on a rocket ship to the moon before COVID. And then we tried to continue during COVID, and I couldn't do it. I kept crying in every interview. I kept breaking down emotionally. I just felt the weight of the world. Like anyone that would tell us, you know, they had to cancel an event, or they're going bankrupt, or they're like pivoting, whatever. I kept crying, and I was like, hey, I'm sort of known for this, like, off the cuff, engaging, odd, like, what the hell is she going to say now? Offensive or whatever. And I couldn't even, all I could do was like, oh my God, the war. There's this gas prices, homelessness, opioid crisis. And I just couldn't do
it. Do you watch the news a lot?
So, now I only watch 15 minutes in the morning while I'm getting up, and I watch the 6 o'clock news at night, local news. I have a couple tickers on my Twitter, on my Twitter, where I'll get a couple little tweets, but I try to step back a bit.
Good.
I didn't actually realize fake news was a thing. I didn't realize agenda and manipulation. It's so funny how naive I was until, like, I'm 49 years old.
You're not the only one. So don't feel foolish, because even my wife has said, like, gosh, before, like, And it's not this, people listening, it's not this, I'm not talking in terms of like conspiracy theories or this and that. There is stuff that's coming to light that we were told differently now. And there's
Definitely.
major news publications out there that are retracting what they had reported previously. And it starts to have you beg the question, like, what is real and what's not? And it's good that you've cut the news cycles down, because especially corporate news media. I mean, that is an ongoing doom and gloom. Like if you are looking for a sense of escape and enlightenment and trying to, you shouldn't be watching the news, because you're going to be, like you said, overwhelmed and burdened by everything.
So, and if I am crazy and I live in a different world with the help of mushrooms, I'm creating my own reality then. I mean, I only want to engage positively. I only want to share positive stuff. I'm sorry if someone's grandma died. I'm sorry if your aunt passed away. I'm sorry if you got COVID and whatever. And your plants are moldy, or you didn't meet first quarter earnings, or whatever the hell we're talking about. Apologies in advance, but I'm not engaging with it. I'm changing my algorithm.
Good. You're going to be better off for it, for sure.
And we have no one to blame but ourselves, because we engage with it, we promote it, we like it, we share it, or because their friend Charlie has always been our friend, we post their things, or we talk to them, or we follow them, or whatever. Well, Charlie is a psycho. Let's stop. Charlie might have been great in high school. Well, Charlie's a psycho now. Block, delete, get out of Charlie.
Right. And if you do want to talk about it, maybe take a different approach. And first off, let's all realize that we probably all truly don't know the real ultimate answer to things, but we can do our best to critically think through the situation instead of taking what is being fed to us at face value.
Right.
That's the one thing that I can't stand, is that, well, no, I saw this on CNN. I'm like, wait, hold on. Okay, wait. We now know that CNN is not a credible news source. We now know, so it's going to take a while to get that message across to some of those people that are really diehards with the corporate news media. But I think it's going to outcome one of two ways. Either it's going to get exacerbated and people are going to continue to fall, and the divide is going to continue to happen, or like you said, we can take action by not engaging with it and leave these entities powerless in some ways, right? I mean,
exactly. If we don't so this is another thing I gotta mention it, and we will eventually. The Cannabis Wiki conference, we're having our first conference. Like, the industry was screaming all the time: diversity, inclusion, representation. So then Cannabis Wiki is a Black-owned business and a Black-run entrepreneur. Like, it's a Black-owned business. And so we created our own event, our own conference and expo. And yes, we're getting lots of engagement and lots of support and whatever, but we're still not getting the support, the bigger conferences, or the ones that everyone complained about, the ones that everyone said it was just a bunch of old white men, and it was a bunch of and it was this, that. They're still going there. They're still spending their dollars. They're still posting about it. Like, we even have people on our team that are, talking about going and talking about doing things, because we are a media company. Yes, we have a presence at all these places, but our heart and our mission is in the culture of cannabis and the community, and culture and community, not really corporate. So like, we're playing the corporate game, but trying to remember our roots, our hair, like where cannabis and who we are at Cannabis Wiki. And I'm having a real hard time. I want to hold everyone accountable. I mean, I like being held accountable. If I say something hurtful or crazy or misleading, call me out. I appreciate it, actually.
I'm sure they have, right? I'm sure you've gotten in the past. Because
chance they get, put a shirt on, you old bitch.
Well, what I'm saying is that, like, there's so many people that they dedicate their lives to doing that. So at the same time, we need to hold those people accountable, right? I mean, like, there can't be any hypocritical activity going on, or I think everyone should be held accountable, basically, to your point. Especially
if we want a more welcoming community, if we want a better world, we have to create it. Who
Right.
are we waiting for? What expert? I mean, you're the expert in Kevin's life. I'm the expert in Jacqui's life. So those are the experts that are going to create the better lives. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I don't understand what we're waiting for, who we're hoping. Like, if you don't like Trump, don't engage with him or his whatever. If you don't like, so we have Justin Trudeau and all these, if you don't like that or don't engage with it anymore. It's not, don't stop it, shut it out.
Well, it's that shift from modernism to postmodernism, where we've gone from production, to consumption. And all, for the most part, we consume in this country, right? I mean, and globally too. So if it's easy, like we talked about earlier, to consume content that is fed to you from a large conglomerate that is perceived to have credibility, right? Instead of actually having to go after and say, okay, well, this was reported, but I'm seeing something different on Twitter or on a podcast that's saying different than what the narrative is. Maybe I should consider it and then make my own decision, and I don't think that part right there happens enough. I think that next part of critically thinking, looking into it a bit more, and then judging for yourself takes work. It takes a bit more effort. So if we can train ourselves to do that and teach our kids and raise them in a way to say, hey, look, there is a lot of media manipulation out there. There's a lot of corruption out there. We live in a crazy time as we're shifting from this traditional way of life to digital, right? And we're experiencing that right now. And so think for yourself. Don't
think
take it
for yourself, for sure. And as an influencer, content creator, I would love people to know, or to like, you don't know Jacqui Childs, even if you followed her for all, because like, I say a lot of things to engage, to create thought, to create emotion. I'll put a shocking picture up. Well, shocking to people in church, but whatever. I'll put whatever to the
I've seen some of those
pictures,
Jacqui. They're you catch my attention, and you catch others. I see it.
It's to catch attention, right? It's to catch attention. I
it's
know
that
what I'm doing.
That thumb scroll stopping moment. We're like, okay, what's this? Like, I think I remember one, and it wasn't on the risque side. I mean, you were nude, but it was blurred. But it was the picture of you in the shower, and it was like, I forget what the caption
crying
read.
On the floor.
Yeah, you were like having an emotional moment, and I was like, okay, this isn't like her other pictures, right? This is something where she's really being real and she's authentic and she's talking about. So tell us a little bit about that and kind of what your strategy is there.
I try and remind people that this beautiful, or whatever you're calling me, your model and all these things, is a human being with real emotions. I hurt like you do. I get sad. I get, the same. I think when we're just looking at a picture, so, edited, and I always tell people these are filters, this is lighting, this is an editing team, this is this is for magazine, like I have many of the same problems you do. We're humans,
Right.
So, and by being bipolar, anxiety, depression, Crohn's, so a lot of times I post pictures on the toilet. I do Instagram videos. I call it talking shit on the shitter, because I have Crohn's disease. So I spend a good time, and my husband carries around my other outfit. Like, we take 2 pairs of pants where I go. Sometimes I have to bring a lady's diaper, and everyone's like, oh, she's so hot and she's whatever. Yeah, I'm hot. I'm menopausal. I'm like,
I love that you're being real though. You're showing that realness into it, and you're adding humor, because at the end of the day, these people that are following are dealing with some of the same exact things that you're dealing with, because humans deal with these things, right?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So, and this is, so another thing with like Twitter and Instagram, there's a lot of media companies and a lot of media outlets that they blocked me, or they don't engage with me or whatever. I'm just of the generation, or of the time when I didn't realize media had an agenda, or I never knew who the reporter would vote for, or what sort of liberal, or were they Republic, what were, I didn't know your religious beliefs or who you had sex with. You were just the person on the news, right? Now we created this whole, like, I know Anderson Cooper is gay and so is transgender and so voted for Trump and so. I don't want to know that. Just give me the news.
It started in the 1960s. I forget what day, but look it up for those listening. It's Project Mockingbird. And that was the first time where the CIA basically embedded operatives within the media corporations. And it was for them to kind of get a feel, I think, at the time of the layout and how they were operating. And because, I mean, obviously disseminating information to the public is important, right? Mm-hmm. So over time, there's reason to believe that Project Mockingbird has, formed into other programs that have become even more embedded with even more agendas to it. So it started way back. I mean,
wow.
Yeah.
Way before, yeah. And I just, so born and raised on nonsense. Like I usually start, like when I'm giving a speech and they say, how did you come to the cannabis space? Or I'm like, well, born and raised on Nancy Reagan, just say no to drugs and it's your brain in the frying pan and all that. Like I wasn't into any of it until it was for health and wellness reasons. And I needed to, and I really, really needed it. And then I have, as much as I have a lot of negative shit to say, clearly I love this community and this industry, or I would have gone away a long time ago because it's one of the nastiest communities I've ever had to be part of. But there are some beautiful gems in here, and there's some movements and some things happening that I just couldn't not be a part of and not be involved in. So when I say I am heavily involved in the cannabis space through investing, I'm a writer in the cannabis space. I am the content creator in the cannabis space. I'm an influencer. I have the podcast. Like I'm at the markets. I'm at the shows. I'm traveling not only Canada, but the world. And another thing people forget or don't realize, and we get a lot of at Wiki, they get some heat from it, and then sometimes I'll be on a podcast or a call-in show and people want to know about how much she gets paid, whatever. A lot of this stuff is on my own dime because Jacqui Childs is the brand or whatever is fortunate enough on other things that I do to be able to travel around and go to these events and on my own dime and talk to single moms about because they're fearful to use cannabis because they might be going through a divorce or whatever, like what child welfare would think of it, things like that. So yeah. I talk to them. And then we have the indigenous people who had the medicine first and for generations and I love talking about like how they grow and the rituals and the spirituality behind it and the whole, same with my love for Jamaica. I'm going again next week. I'm there several times a year. I love that culture of cannabis. I love when I came to the space, when I started to catch momentum, I thought it was going to be a lot more hippies and peace and love and woo, it wasn't exactly that. So,
well, it's a wide range of people, right? I mean, it's people from all different walks of life, different age groups, demographics, race, ethnicities. I mean, and they all consume differently too. It's kind of incredible to see that, I would imagine.
And I like I roll a horrific joint. I choke when I do a bong rip or whatever. Like, so some sort of expert or being this, I'm more of like a crazy old lady who shares her experiences with cannabis as authentically as I can. I hope I've said several years ago, I said, if they don't invite you to your table, build your own table and invite them to yours. Lots of people have requoted that and have shared that around because there was parts of the industry that weren't inviting me. And then I thought, that's unfortunate because I know why they're not inviting me. And it's unfortunate because I can really, really help to push this forward and boost this movement. And I don't need to be like, I don't need all the props. I don't need to be a person at the front. You don't need to include me in your thank you even. I feel that it's a disservice to the people that really have great messages and great, their communities and whatever, that don't want me a part of it because of that influencer term.
No one should be excluded, especially if that person has that they themselves like seen the efficacy and the benefits of cannabis firsthand, right? Like that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Totally changed my life. And I have a 24-year-old son and a 21-year-old son. and they were raised the same way. Like if they had have touched any, I would have killed them. But, but no, I would never kill my kid. Anyhow, that's to
No,
the trolls.
I know what you mean. Yeah,
That's your soundbite. The trolls will love that shit.
Let them. That'll be a great engagement. That'll boost the. I'll get more views on this podcast. So it'll be good.
The cannabis conversations with my adult children, and now they consume, and it has helped with their mental health and their anxiety, and just they're pretty uptight kids. And then they're like, we have in Canada, we call them bud tenders and educational specialists.
Yeah.
So they were all in the industry as they became bud tenders. They got certified. We have a legal channel called Cancel, where it's like learning to be smart serve, like in the alcohol industry. And they all passed their and got work in dispensaries and got to have a feel of who the real influences are in the industry, like who really they were deemed essential. They're the front lines, you know, like if you want to put a product out, if you want to boost something, you want to sell something, we need to treat our bud tenders a lot better than we do. I'm not sure in the States, but we've got some issues here in Canada.
Yeah. I mean, I live in a state where it's not legal, but that is the term, bud tenders, the same thing. And I don't know how they're treated. I don't want to speak for the industry, but
yeah, they're not treated super well. I mean, I'm sure they are sometime, but I mean, there's call outs to unionize and to scrap things and start over, and they need more support, and they need a living wage, and I used to just hear the want all the time from the same people, and I sort of blocked it off until it touched my family personally, and they were in the industry, and I thought they would come home from work, and I'm like, did you tell them your mother is Jacqui Childs? And like, I was just like, I'm going to destroy this company. And it was just, there was a lot of that often, and they're all out of it now, just in the last few months. My stepdaughter and my sons, they've decided they don't want to be in the industry anymore. And unfortunately, I'm not going to leave. This is my passion, to take Cannabis Wiki to the moon. We keep saying whatever we're doing, like the family that we have created and the brand that we have there is, I look forward to every single day with this team, and it has been tough over the last few years, and they have dealt with a shit ton with my mental illness, like a shit ton. It's gone, you know, so just 2 weeks ago, I was appointed the Chief Content Officer.
Yes, congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Which is on a personal level, from a homeless sex worker, stripper, drug dealer, all those things.
Yeah.
To be validated, to be seen in that way, especially by the community, the Black business community, like the Black ownership and like what they're going through in this industry as well, and as human beings in this world, and then to trust and respect and love what I brought to them over the last few years, and what I do is unbelievable on a personal level. And I can't let them, I won't see them not win. That's like we have ambitions to move to Jamaica, or to be in Jamaica full time, and to do other things. And I will not leave this space until Wiki is on the moon, or at least our, you know, because I want to see more of the right people and the good people really kill it, really get their props, really shine for even if it's 15 freaking minutes, just give them 15 minutes.
Right.
And right. I'll be really happy with that. And then I can roll off into the sunset.
I could see the passion. I could see the passion just oozing out, Jacqui. And I love what you said. You're just building that table so that you can invite others to sit at it. So,
and definitely, and like there's podcasts in this industry that won't talk to me because I'm Jacqui Childs. Well, that's silly, because you're just going to get a shit ton of engagement. Like, even if you don't like me, mute it for 5 minutes and then share you had Jacqui Childs on. Like, I get it. And I know it's a numbers game, analytics, insights, algorithm, engagement. Whether Like, it's business, man.
Well, I didn't invite you for your followers. I invited you because you're an interesting person I see on social media, and heavily involved in the cannabis space. So thank you for agreeing to come on, because I've really enjoyed talking with you today. It's been awesome.
Well, yeah, I loved having an opportunity to. I mean, if you're ever coming to Canada, I mean, you can come on the green room in person. Do you come to Canada ever or often?
I've never been, but that's not to say
What?
that my wife and I would never come. I'd love to. Yeah.
Never been to Canada?
Never. No.
I just find that, see, like when someone says to me, "Well, I don't have a passport," or I'm like, "What?"
I have a passport. I just have never been to Canada. Yeah. I don't know.
Missing out. Like, oh my god. See, did I say out funny? Because I know my
You said out and you said about. You've said about. I've noticed a couple of times. It's very Canadian. I
okay.
love it.
Well,
Yeah.
let me go back for a second. So my parents live in Georgia. My
Okay.
parents are American.
Mm.
My husband is American. My in-laws are American. I'm the only Canadian in all of this. But I hate what happened during COVID and the 4 years before. It was messy, and I just have such a love for America, and my feelings are hurt. I think I'm emotional about a bunch of things. I keep saying that my feelings are hurt. I just want to go to Target and CVS and have a good time, man. Like I love that stuff.
I know. It's been an adjustment for everyone, and it's not easy, but you're doing all the right things. And that the first step is focusing on yourself and what you can do and to improve your situation. And Jacqui, you're taking the bull by the horns in that aspect, you know?
Well,
So
I hope so. We we have a long way to go. Obviously, cannabis has come a long way. It's been around forever. We have a long way to go, and there's a lot of things that need to be changed. There's a lot of good things. I mean, I don't want to focus on the negative. There's a lot of good things, and that people have access here, that cannabis is legal, that we have access to it the way we do. I remember the first time cannabis came in the mail, my husband cried. Like, he was like, "Can you believe it?" Like he has been in trouble with cannabis as a teen and whatever. Like, he's got some records and because of cannabis.
Yeah.
So to have it legalized in his lifetime and then come in the mail in his lifetime,
it's like full circle. It's like, what is happening? Yeah.
It's a lot. It's been really, and it's, yeah, community and industry that I absolutely, obviously, the love, hate, whatever, is way more love for it.
It's growing pains right now. It's growing pains, right? I mean, this is still burgeoning. I mean, I know Canada's ahead of all the other countries, but we're still finding our way in this industry. That's what it's all about.
Definitely. Like, I mean, alcohol, like, I'm sure it was, prohibition and the whole thing. I'm sure there was tons of growing pains and things to work out and stuff that, like, we're getting there. It's not and it won't happen overnight. And there's going to be a lot of trial and error. And that's the way, like, I don't want to fight or fuel with that. Like, I hope people that engage with me that maybe haven't won or maybe feel like they're losing or whatever it is, let's engage, let's work together and make you a winner too. Let's work together and grow and, make you comfortable, find your fit. Like, that's what, when we sit at the table at Wiki and we try and like focus what we're going to do and whatever, we're a media company. We need to talk and work and be involved with everyone and everything, like on all levels. And in Canada and in the media in Canada, in the cannabis space especially, there's a lot of lines. Like, people have these strong, like, we're not going to work with them. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that, and we won't do that. So that's why we get a lot of love, but then I also think it's why we get a lot of hate as well. I don't want to pick a lane. Cannabis didn't pick a lane. Like, she doesn't know you're fighting over her. She doesn't know she was grown by the government or she's got a tax on it, whatever. Like, that's government weed. Like, I'm just trying to end stigmas and break stereotypes. And, so whether it's government weed or you grow your own, which I highly recommend grow your own, but I absolutely love a pre-roll,
Right.
Like,
and the reality is that's going to happen. There's going to be corporate weed. I don't know what, like, it would be nice to have the option to have personal grows, and we'll see in the US at least how that plays out state by state. But This is coming. I mean, there already are multi-state operators and Canadian LPs that are operating at a massive scale, right?
Yeah.
So
That's one thing I would say that, like in Canada, where it really frustrates me and it comes up almost daily, is that we have these like crazy barriers to entry where if you've been like a grower for 30 years or 40 years, or your dad or grandpa were growers, and you have anything like arrests of any, you can't get a security clearance. You can't work with the company. You can't be part of the industry. So like the real OGs, the people who grow the best, like my dealer was never broke. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
stuff, there's all these, they can't play in the legal arena.
Because of their prior convictions before
Yep.
it was legal, so they're still holding them accountable for those crimes, even
Yep.
though they've legalized.
Even though we've legalized and we were supposed to have all these
How
things
does that make any sense?
It's ridiculous. So instead we're growing bad weed, we're growing moldy weed. We still have like the we call it the unregulated, the legacy market, which would be the black market, but we try and say like legacy or unregulated. They're thriving. Like they're still good because we've really messed up on a lot.
Yeah.
Like, don't you want the experts? Don't you want the experts to have a seat at the table?
Well, and not only that, but they shouldn't be punished for something that's now legal, right?
Is that, yeah.
Like that's the
It's
biggest,
gross.
like that's the big fight right now in the US is that there's like, I don't know if the numbers change, but 40,000 people sitting in prison for non-violent cannabis related offenses.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah, and I don't know if they're all non-violent. Don't quote me on that. But
Well, I know
regardless,
the Last Prisoner Project, and they,
yeah,
and we have Cannabis Amnesty, and we have a group called Normal, and it's which is
crazy.
similar to and work coincide with the Last Prisoner Project. Why are they in jail for seeds? For crimes that are like there's no victim in that crime. Like
And
it was non-violent. There's nobody like tax things in the can. Like it's just garbage. Just
it's crazy. I had Weldon Angelos on. He said it perfectly. He's like, those people that are sitting in prison right now, committed the same crime that current MSOs are doing in the US in the eyes of the federal government. Like they're operating like illegal cartels in the federal government's eyes, right? Not, of course, in the state, it's legal because the state has opted in to be adult use or medical, but it's insane that the government doesn't step in and raid those places and, and hold those businesses accountable when others are still in jail for it, in prison.
It's just not fair. And I am, because of, well, whatever, I've been lucky enough to be in all spots of cannabis, but I will tell you, I'm putting this out here. I have a phenomenal working relationships. I trust and believe, I rely on so many of those OGs in the legacy market and whatever. Like I feel like a shark and going into like the gang when we're at corporate cannabis. Like I don't believe everything that's being spun or being said or being told. I don't believe those numbers. I need proof on everything. I'm asking them to cross every T and dot every I. And I don't do that when I'm sitting in a farm at the back of some grow or doing whatever. I'm talking to those guys. I'm like, okay, how much is this? And what's it going to go? And how did you do this? And where did you get? Like, I believe everything they're saying, but it's the corporate guys. I need to check on everything.
Well, it's because it's new blood, right? Like new blood. So there's that,
yes.
that trust that needs to be established and the relationship building needs to take place. And that's where the legacy operators have the leg up because they've already built those relationships. They've proven their value. They've built trust with the community, right? So it's like when you're looking for, yeah, go ahead.
When you come from like the alcohol industry or oil and gas or whatever, I'm speaking to you and I read your emails and I see your correspondence and we have communication, but I can hear your bottom line. Like I'm hearing the money and I can hear the numbers in your talk. I don't hear a lot of passion for the plant. I don't hear a lot of interest for ending the stigma. I don't see the inclusivity and diversity that you guys are all screaming about and hashtagging nonstop so you look good, because that doesn't carry over into any of the boardrooms ever.
Yeah.
Like, and it's really, really, really bothersome. And that's where I don't
what I think's really weird is when executives have never consumed before.
I have personal thoughts on that as well. I find it like, I don't know.
It's okay if they don't do it all the time, because it's not the plan. I'm not saying that everyone should consume if they're not comfortable with it, but to be leading a company, it's like almost like running like a wine business and not trying the wine.
Yeah,
right?
isn't that, I just find it, I find that very difficult for me too. And that is fine. And if, oh, I don't smoke anymore, it makes me anxious, or does this, or I'm not, whatever. But I sort of see your passion. I can sort of hear and feel where we're going in all this, and where you want your company to go, and what you want your branding. If you're not a consumer, you're not community. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Like,
well, it's like, yeah, I mean, there is a culture within the community, like the consumer, the cannabis consumer, there's a culture there, right? And
that will
there's
definitely hold you accountable.
yeah, and like there's people that are religious in the way they consume. There's, the people that like to rip the bongs. There's the dabbers, there's the gummy people, right? The tinctures. So it's like within each of those consumption methods in those groups, there's a culture there. There's a way in which people go about and talk about the products and the way they consume. And so, yeah, I agree with you that at that level of understanding comes with experience. It's hard to teach someone that without them knowing it. And I'm not saying it's a necessity. I just think it's weird, like if they've never consumed or if they refuse to even try the product.
And I agree with you. And I'm sure there's some great people in the industry. I'm sure I know a bunch of them, and I just, whatever.
Yeah.
Didn't take the time to, whether they smoke or not, I don't know. But how you're like, it's weird. That's exactly where I'm at. It's just weird.
Like I'm sure they're good at their job. I'm sure that they're hired for a reason, so you can't knock them for it.
Like,
but
do you think you're going to be the #1 tampon seller?
Wait, what?
Like, do you use?
Oh, you mean like? Oh yeah, like no, I don't, because I don't know anything about tampons. Yeah, yeah. You asked me how to do it, I would not. I would have to read the instructions. For those watching, I did a really weird gesture there, so I don't know. Oh, Jacqui. Well, hey, I want to give you the floor as we wrap up. Like, what do you want to leave the audience with? It's been a really, like, I knew it was going to be lively. I knew it was going to be fun. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to close.
Check out Cannabis Wiki. Of course, I'm going to say that. Cannabis.wiki is the platform where you can find we have blogs, we have strain finders, about everything. There's cooking shows on there. There's a bunch of podcasts. We have our Jamaican affiliates, because we also have a man named Pantasun, and he runs like the green room type thing for us. It's the Pantasun movement. He has a thing called Dance Hall Tours, and that's done in Kingston, Jamaica, and all over Jamaica. So because of our Jamaican affiliates, we're giving away a trip for 2 to Jamaica. And anyone can enter, and that's you can enter through the cannabis.wiki. I also have like swipe ups and links and stuff all over my social media. But that's trip for 2 to Jamaica with myself and Pantasun hosting you. And we're going to show you the culture of cannabis. So Bob Marley Museum, Peter Tosh, Trenchtown, take you to all the local dispensaries, party on the beach, go to the fish markets and whatever. And we're going to be your guide. So pick you up at the airport, take you to your hotel, we're providing everything. And we're providing this once in a lifetime trip. So that's
nice.
There's 40 days left to enter. And yeah, so that's on cannabis.wiki. The Green Room is my podcast. And along with my co-host, Derek, he is the founder of Cannabis Wiki. And we don't just engage with people in the cannabis space. We are pot to pop. So we could talk about pop culture, whatever.
Nice. Yeah. I like that.
If you're a writer and you use cannabis, and even if you're not, we like to talk about stigmas and stereotypes. We like to engage with people who don't consume and find out why. And was it because Nancy Reagan? Do you have asthma or I'm an athlete? We get that out a lot. I'm an athlete. Well, they're starting to change that, because you can use CBD
for recovery. Yeah.
So yeah, and then we have an expo. It's in so Toronto is a big deal in Canada, of course, and then so is BC Bud. So Toronto and BC. Well, we're taking things to London, Ontario, which is southern Ontario, and that's an agricultural and educational hub. So we're having an expo and conference June 15th and 16th in London, Ontario. And you can find out all about that on expo.cannabis.wiki.
Awesome. I'll be
That's
sure
it.
to get all those links from you also so that I can drop them in the YouTube description box so
Thank
that
you.
people
So
can
yeah, we're just,
access
you know
it.
what? I apologize to anyone I've offended unintentionally. Apologize for however I've ruffled the trolls under those bridges.
Ignore the trolls. What do you mean? Don't apologize to the trolls.
You know what? They're wasting time. Like I'm actually, and it's shameful because people that meet me really like me. And the one or two people, let's say one or two people that don't, they like, it's usually my fault too. I've overreacted or I've sent out some weird vibe that has thrown them off, and that's fine, whatever. We don't need this. We don't need this.
No.
Like people need to be welcomed. They need to be heard. They need to be respected and understood. Meet them where they're at. That's it. You know, that's all I'm asking. I'm asking for what I give.
Yeah. And we're all dealing with their own shit. So
Totally.
understand that. Like when you encounter people, there was one thing that a boss of mine once said, and it made a lot of sense. We'll close with this, is that he said, you never know what someone else is dealing with. So in that interaction that day, if they were short with you, if they were rude, before you think, God, why were they treating me like that? Well, me, right? It's like, first think about what's going on with them. Did they have a bad morning? Are they getting a divorce? Are they, right? Like, is their wife sick? Is like, whatever it is. So start with that. And like, to your point, Jacqui.
Back in again. I interviewed maybe 24 people at an event recently, and literally, like, I was on the wait list to go to a rehab for my mental illness. Like I went to this thing last minute. No one there would have known. We went an hour before it opened and we stayed an hour after it closed. I A game all the way through. And then the breakdown and the release, like I was tremendous, but I would never do that to this community. And I always give them my A game and the very best I can. And I showed up like, and did what literally, like I felt on my deathbed, like, my self-proposed deathbed. So well, yeah, I wish more of us would get what we give.
You will. It's going to come. The kindness is going to come one day. Jacqui, keep building that table. Keep ignoring the trolls. Keep producing that content because it is engaging and I enjoy following you. So thank you so much again. And yeah, we'll have to have you back on as the industry continues to evolve.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, Kevin. I really appreciate this. Can't wait to share.
Of course. Yes. Thank you again. And thank you all for listening. Until next time. Bye.